Alright, what's up? What's up? We are making the Tribiani Traveler, the small one. I didn't make too many changes. The only thing I did was I added this vinyl panel to the zipper. And I used vinyl for the straps and strap connectors instead of webbing. But other than that, no big changes. Basically the same interfacing and everything. I'd say if you're wanted to, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. If you'd like, you can leave any kind of criticisms you'd like for the video. Let me know if it's good, bad, whatever. I'm good. Alright, so thanks for watching. See you while I'm making the bag. Bye. So what we're going to do is we're going to get started with our straps. We will mark our centers, and then we put a little bit of double-sided tape on the just outside of the line that we marked, and then we're going to fold our long edges over. We're not going to butt them up together because we will be folding it over again, and that'll put a little bulge in the strap, so we don't want that. And then I'm going to take another strip of double-sided tape. This double-sided tape I got from wawac.com. I think that's how you say it. Anything I mention, I will put the links below. So if you want to do the same bag, I'll put that as well as hardware and zipper and everything else. So I have my Teflon foot on for right now. Usually I like to use my walking foot, but my walking foot is broken, so I have to replace that. So I'm using my Teflon foot right now. I'm going to have the stitch length at about 4.5 to 5. If you're using a domestic, their stitch lengths might vary a little bit. So just kind of work with your machine, figure out what it likes, or what you like as far as your top stitch length and everything else. I will back stitch at the beginning. Something's touching. There we go. Okay, and so then I stitch across the short end, and then back down the long edge. So I do not go all the way to the end when I stitch the short ends, because I got caught. Pull that out of there. There we go. Because sometimes your strap comes out uneven. So if that's the case, then you just take scissors and snip it for it to be even. So that's why I don't go all the way to the edge. This one actually came out pretty nice. So I already did the other strap as far as taping it down, so we'll go ahead and stitch it. I am using a bonded nylon thread from Sunny Sewing Machines. It is a Tech 70. It's a great thread to use for definitely for bags. It's great for backpacks as well because of the pounds per stitch that it holds. Hold, please. Okay, sorry about that. Down the short end, back down the long end. Oops. That's okay. Went over a little bit too far, but it's fine. It'll work. I actually should have just used my thread zap so I can get pretty close. You want to get close, but not too close because you don't want to burn your vinyl. And then, so these are going to be our handles. It also comes with a crossbody strap. So I'll do the crossbody strap as well right now. Got a little close. So we have our crossbody strap. Now, I did do a little bit of a modification to this. It's not huge, but I thought it would be fun. I saw somebody try it out, so I thought it would be nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a vinyl top to this. So I cut it to however much I wanted the size of the zipper panel piece to be. And so what I did was I made sure I left the seam allowance in when I cut this and seam allowance in when I cut this. So right sides together. Hopefully that made sense the way I said that. If not, you know, just comment below and let me know, and maybe I can break it down a little bit better. Just make sure whenever you do adjustments to anything, always account for the seam allowance. That's a fun tip, I guess. Make sure your thread's pulled back. going to change this to constructive stitch, which would be a smaller stitch, about 3.5 to 4. If you're wondering, my machine is a Juki TL18QVP. So basically it's just a high performance machine, not yet to an industrial. So I sew these right sides together, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this up and then top stitch. I always use the right side of my foot for my guidance, so I always have to turn things around. You don't have to do it that way, that's just my personal preference. And gotta switch it back to that basting stitch, which is about 4.5 to 5 for the top stitch. That's what I like. Some people use longer stitches. I mean, that's your preference. I am top stitching this seam allowance to the top. I always seem to not remember where I put my snips. Alright, so we'll do the other side. Let me get my other. I am using hair clips. The reason why is because with vinyl Wonder Clips, so these Wonder Clips, they have little bumps in it, and they'll leave dents in the vinyl. Okay. And back to our smaller stitch. No idea what I just did with my steps. Oh well. And then we'll top stitch. So this is just an extra step to the pattern, just because I decided to try to be fancy. And just remember to stitch that seam allowance towards the vinyl, because it's going to tack it down. If you don't, then it's going to stay kind of like bulky right here, and you don't want that. So now what we can do is get our side panels and our side connectors. Here. get hardware, right? We'll need 4 rings and 2 D-rings. We'll fold it in half and mark our centers. I use snippet. That was just one of my little pegboard things popping off. So these are going to be the side panels. So we'll be using our D-rings. You can, what you can do, it's up to you. If you want to, you can stitch down the sides before you connect it to the side panel. I am not, because I just don't want to have to deal with double stitches. That's just me. I got good double-sided tape, so it should help keep it in place when I place it on the panel piece. So it should be fine without having to re-stitch. So I'm going to do the same thing, but the only difference here is I'm actually going to butt those long ends together, because I'm not going to fold it over a second time. But I still do put that double layer of tape there. A little bit more tape, the more it has to hold itself in place, you know? Less likely to move. So we'll fold it here. All right, then what we're gonna do is we will fold it over however much you're supposed to fold it over. Most patterns are about the same. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take small, well actually, yeah, I'll take a small piece of double-sided tape here. Slide my D-ring and then lay that piece down. And then I am going to take a whole piece right down the middle. And we'll do the same thing with the other. I don't know, this part is the tedious part of a pattern, you know, depending on how many straps you have and everything else, you know, it gets a little repetitious, but it's okay, because the end result is a beautiful project. Hopefully I picked a good vinyl for this. I kind of just went with it, but, you know, like, oh, let's make it happen. Make it happen. And then connect the D-ring, fold it over. snip, 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 snip. And this one is kind of a hard vinyl to find the center, but we'll figure it out, right? All right, so now we know where center is. We're going to place the center of our strap right there in the middle. And then we're going to sew up, across, and down. And probably about 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Almost all straps are like that, so, you know, once you get it down, and a skip stitch. Let's just, I should turn that around. That's okay. What happened? I gotta find my snips. This is not fun. I just had them and now they're gone. Use my tiny scissors. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do the other one. This is the top, this is the bottom. We have our center. Now I put the tape straps here. Like, I have a trash can right there. I don't know. I do that a lot with projects. I get into it and I'm just throwing stuff all around the place. So, this is a cool trick my friend showed me. Because I know this foot does not like these humps. So you can turn it backwards and back stitch a couple. And then turn it and keep going. So we have these on. I am going to rivet them. I mean, it's extra security, but it's also decoration, you know. Make the bag look really fancy. So I have, it's called an awl, A-W-O-L, and I got it from Walmart, believe it or not, but it comes with a point, and it already, so it helps you poke the holes. Don't just throw it on the floor like that. I'm going to slide these over, and I have what's called a rivet press. I'm not a big fan of pink, but I didn't want green, so pink it is. I'm going to go ahead, and these are double capped rivets. Rivets. Just sits in there. Ooh, nice panels. And I realized I forgot to interface these bad boys. So I'm gonna have to go do that. Okay, I'm back. So now that I got that interfaced, we can go ahead and do our connectors on this panel piece. And just some excess foliage from the interfacing, so I'm just trimming that off. So we have our 4 connectors, and we'll be doing this the exact same way we've done all the rest of them. We mark our center. Find another pin. And there'll be 4 strap connector pieces. And the same thing here, we will actually butt the long edges up together. Excuse me, my shirt. Because we are not going to fold it over a second time. So we're going to be connecting the rectangle rings here to these straps, and I am going to rivet to make them look really fancy. Alright, so now we'll fold it over the amount that we need to fold it over. And you'll give it a little press just so you can have that mark there. And I'll do the same thing that I did before. Small amount. I do make sure that I don't put this double-sided tape where the connector is actually going to sit. I don't like the double-sided tape touching my connectors, but that's my preference. Obviously, everything's like up to you and what you want to do, what you like, what you don't like. This pattern, I believe, is very domestic machine friendly. I would say keep all interfacings out of your seam allowance if you can. And that just kind of helps you be able to just kind of flow through the bag itself. I have sewn on a domestic with vinyl, so you can make it happen. You just gotta watch those layers. So we need to find our center. And I'm going to fold it in half and snip like I did before. Oh no. I am actually going to trim off some excess fleece here. I like to get the excess interfacing out of the way because it helps me be able to make sure I have my seam allowances in the correct spot when I'm stitching. I'm going to place my ruler to as far as I need to place it away from the center where I'm going to place my strap connectors. And just when you're placing your strap connectors, it's not the hardware you're placing, it's the actual fabric piece here. So, you know, whether you're using webbing, which this pattern does call for webbing, but I wanted to be fancy and did vinyl. I think it's fine though. I think it works. I think it works. Don't cover up the TARDIS too much, which is good. Oh, a million scissors on my We're going to do the same thing. Go up the long edge, across the one short edge, and then down the opposite long edge. Okay, so we're going to add rivets to here as well. Now you can measure it out if you like. I'm not going to. I just kind of eyeball it and go with it. We'll go ahead and add the connectors to the other panel real quick before we start to rivet. That looks good. All right. If you're struggling like this with your awl, like I am, you can actually, it's because the double-sided tape has, the adhesive from it has started to stick to the metal parts. Pointer, I don't know. But the easiest way to clean that off is take some alcohol, possibly the 91% alcohol. I don't know if the 70 will work. And just spray that on a towel or paper towel or something, and it'll wipe right off. Cleans it right off. Okay, so I am going to actually put a little handmade tag on here. And we already have our center mark, which is good. And you can just place this wherever you like. You know, you can have it, down here at the bottom, at the top. I think, I really don't want it to be on the TARDIS, but this is going to fold over. So we'll just have to have it on the TARDIS. It'll be okay, right? I'll put it above the TARDIS sound. And I will mark where my prongs need to go. And I'll get a X-Acto knife to cut my holes for my prongs. Put that in there. And actually, I like to get a little bit of stabilizer. I had some right here, but get some real quick. So what I usually do before I do the prongs is I get a little bit of stabilizer to put behind it. And I have my iron here. And I'm using a Decoville Heavy. This is my stabilizer. You can use like a Peltex. And I'm just going to re-poke through that stabilizer. Prong plate in, and I push my prongs outward. Don't know if it makes a difference whether you push them in towards themselves or out, but, and then I take a little bit of duct tape. You can see they're pretty pointy or sharp, whatever you want to say, and I'm going to cover it. And what this does is kind of help it from scraping against the lining piece and creating holes. It'll help it last longer by keeping that. Alright, so we have our two panels done. Next thing we're going to do is work on our zipper pocket, inside zipper pocket. Pieces, and of course find our center. Just fold it and do a little snip. This is a water resistant, not really waterproof, but water resistant canvas that I actually got from Walmart. That's inside panel. We don't want to use that. I'm going to find our center to one of our pocket pieces. And lay that across here. So now we'll measure little too far there. There we go. And I will use the longer ruler here. We'll mark where we're going to have our zipper pocket start and stop. And I'm going to have this about a 1/2 inch opening, I want to say. Make sure we have this right lined up. All right. So we have our top line and bottom line, and we're just going to follow those 2 lines. You want to try and start and stop almost exactly parallel on your lines. And I am going to switch it to a smaller stitch length here. You can pin it, clip it however you want. Just slightly over. It's fine. Alright. And you'll back stitch at the beginning and end of your stitch lines. Oh, and we just ran out of bobbin. I am prepared. And so I'll just start just a little bit behind where we lost bobbin, and you'll back stitch again. Back stitch. And now we're going to just make a slit, fold it in half. And I don't know if I said, but when you do the pocket, you want to have this pocket panel right sides together to your lining piece. Make a small slit, and then we'll continue down maybe about a 1/2 inch from where your start and where you started stitches, and then we'll make a dart. Alright, so you have an opening and you have your 2 darts. Now we'll turn this to have it wrong sides together. Now normally, I mean, if you're using fabric, you just press it and keep it moving. But since I'm using this, I'm going to have to use lots and lots of steam and on the right side. If you press on this side, it will melt the back. So I'm going to have to turn it this way and press it like that. And give it a little finger press here just to like help it out a little bit. Finger press here just to like help it out a little bit. And then we'll hit it with some steam. I'll do that and be right back. Okay, so now it has been steamed. And I'm going to take my zipper, a really long zipper, but it's no big deal. I like to cut the little metal piece off of there. Now, you can take double-sided tape if you'd like to hold it down. I'm just gonna hold it down. Now I like to make sure that the zipper goes the length of the pocket piece. And I will start just a little bit further down than the beginning. Switch to the top stitch length. Back stitch. Come down. That's fine. I'll come back and fix that stitch right there. Come back down the side. My thread zapper. Can't use it if the fuse falls out. So right here, I slipped a little bit, so I'm just gonna start right here. I'm gonna try to start in one of the exact holes that I was at. Sometimes you have mistakes. It's not that big a deal. It's okay. The reason why I came back is because I wanted to make sure that that it was actually caught, that piece. Because if I didn't catch it, then there'd just be like a hole in the zipper. And what I'm going to do is now cut the excess zipper off. And one thing you want to do is seal your zipper ends. Use a little lighter, a little fire. And it melts the ends, seals it up. Now what we're going to do is we are going to sew the panel pieces together, but we're not going to close the zipper off, the zipper pocket off. And if you want, you can clip it down just to kind of help you make sure nothing shifts while you're putting this together. There goes was a clip. And just 1 or 2 clips is fine, you know. And just sew the horseshoe. So the 2 shorter edges and that top long edge, we will keep this open. And I do switch it to a smaller length. So you don't forget, because I've done it. Now, open the zipper now. So it should be open. Okay, and then now we're going to attach our main zipper. So we will mark our center of our zipper. Another thing you could do is, if you have a thread zapper, you could take your thread zapper and just zap in this part right here, and instead of cutting it, it just melts it a little bit, so it's like sealing it at the same time. But we have our center mark, here, and now we're going to go ahead. You could take double-sided tape and use that to hold your zipper in. I personally just like to baste it, so I am going to baste it. I'm just clipping it down and basting. If you're new, I'm still new to sewing. I've only been doing bags for a year, but basting is doing a stitch just to hold something in place. So we're going to baste stitch our zipper down. My advice to when you're basting, there are quite a few patterns that tell you to go ahead and baste at your seam allowance stitch length, but I think that you should just baste it as close to the edge as possible, because if you were to mess up, you don't want those stitches to actually show. So we are making sure that our right side of our zipper is to our panel as we're doing this. Move that back a little bit, and now I will move this out of the way. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our lining piece. So this I established as the front of the bag because that's where I put my handmade. I don't want my zipper pocket on the front of the bag, I want it on the back of the bag. So I'm going to take my other lining panel piece and we're going to place this right sides together to our exterior panel piece and clip it down. And I'm gonna move my zipper out of the way. And you'll want to find your centers, but I mean, I'm just lining the panels up together. That works too. And we'll go ahead and switch that stitch length. Get that thread pulled out of there. There we go. Move that zipper out of the way. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason, I could try to be as perfect as I can with the lining, and it doesn't always line up. But that's fine. It's fine. It's gonna be okay. Now we're going to put wrong sides together, and we'll hand press it down. If you're doing all fabric, you could easily press this, or I could go on the back side and press it, but why do that? Back to our top stitch. Now, one thing you want to make sure you do is pull that lining away from your zipper. And we'll top stitch. Almost all top stitches are going to be 1/8 of an inch away from that edge. You pull that lining away. And the reason for that is because you don't want it to be too close to your zipper teeth and it get caught when you use your zipper. Alright, so there's one side attached. We'll go ahead and attach the other side here. Centers. And I feel like it's, without having to say, but baste your zipper with your zipper on top. You don't want to baste it like this because then your zipper could shift. And you don't want that. Then you have to seam rip, and seam ripping is not that much fun. It really isn't as much fun as you think it is. Seam ripping kind of sucks. And then also, if you're working with vinyl, seam ripping basically is not an option, because once you sew in that vinyl, that's it. You got holes in it. You can't really save it unless you stay meticulous and try to follow each hole that you had already previously made. That seems like a lot of work. So no. Let's not do that. Just basting this zipper down. Move that zipper out of the way. And now we're going to attach the zipper pocket panel. Just clip it down. Try to line it up as best you can. Honestly, I just never, my lining pieces just really never line up. Maybe I am too overzealous and I'm like, oh, I want to get this bag done, and I just move too quickly. Not exactly sure. But in the end, it does work out, so that's all that matters. So now we'll go ahead, switch to that smaller length. And I'm going to move my zipper out of the way. Zipper pull up. going to do the same thing here. I'm going to flip the wrong sides together. Oh gosh, this is kind of cute. Alright. And that was just a pencil. And top stitch. Don't forget to switch to your top stitch length, whatever your preference is. Okay. And pull that lining out of the way. So now we have our two main panel pieces together, which is exciting. Next step is, lesson learned. Keep your lining out of the way. And now I have the seam rip and follow holes. I will be okay. So almost done. We have our side panels and then our bottom, and then that's it. So we're gonna we'll do the lining real quick. One thing about these side panels, it's almost a little difficult to decipher which one is your bottom and your top. So just double check before you start sewing things down. So right sides together, we're going to be sewing our top of our side panel down here. And we'll keep our exterior out of the way and go ahead and sew these two pieces together. Oh, one of the kids are calling me. Be right back. I'm gonna go ahead and sew these together. Smaller stitch. Okay. And then the other side, making sure that exterior piece is out of the way. Now we'll take our exterior piece, panel piece, and it'll be the top part of your panel piece that we're going to sew. And clip these together. And just to make sure that the interior is out of the way, or the lining, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to fold this in just a little bit. And then I will clip this down right on top of the zipper. And so we're gonna, and I didn't say it on the interior part, but we're going to go up until right before you hit the zipper. So you'll back stitch here, and then you'll back stitch right there. So you do not sew over the zipper on any one of those parts. Not just yet, at least. The only reason I still have my Teflon foot on is because there are parts where I still need top stitch on vinyl. Oh gosh. Snip. And now what we're going to do is bring the wrong sides together of our side panel. Finger press. If you have fabric, you can press it. It's up to you with your iron. I'm not really going to be too concerned about it. And now I'm going to turn this over. And now we will close that hole that we left. Start right about here. Like a little bit before the zipper panel. Back to our top stitch length. And there we have it. So I'm going to use my thread zapper just to get as close as I can. Get rid of that. And then you just do the same with the other side. Get our other side panel. Oh, here. Our lining side panel. I know how to put it together, but just in case, I do have the pattern pulled up on my computer on the side here. So just in case I have like a little hiccup in my thoughts, I still have this pattern here to reference to. So same thing, we're going to keep this exterior out of the way while we sew our lining piece. Or interior, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Back stitch at the beginning, and then right before you get to the zipper, back stitch. Don't go over the zipper. If you want to try to get as close as possible, you can always just kind of like, I'm not exactly sure what that was, but you can always mark right here your seam allowance line and then stitch from the opposite side. But I make sure that I just like close it well enough. I think it's fine going from this position. And just remember you're using your smaller stitch length here. And now we will do our exterior piece. Sorry for the loud clinking noise of the connectors. I wish there was like a way to quiet it down, but there kind of isn't. So we'll take our top piece of our exterior. I feel like, did I do that the wrong way? Oof. I think I did. We'll make it work. Okay, so exterior pieces, making sure you keep your lining pieces out of the way. Now, if you don't feel like clipping it, just make sure you're aware that your lining is out of the way. And if you are concerned that you might get too close to the zipper, just mark where you really need to start and stop. Just making sure I'm not too close to the zipper. And now we'll go ahead and pull these wrong sides together here, and then top stitch. Right about here, and like I said before, it's usually like 1/8 of an inch away from the edge. Make sure you have it at your top stitch length here. And I'm going to thread zap. Trim away that excess thread there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is attach those curved lines there. And I will start from the lining piece. And usually a lot of things like this, you want to start with the lining because it's easier to maneuver the lining around when you're putting the exterior together than it is to put the exterior together and then maneuver your lining, because the exterior usually has the interfacing, so it's a little bit stiffer, it's harder to move, and you want to avoid causing any wrinkles. So yeah, so we'll do our lining first here. I'm going to just go ahead and clip all 4 corner pieces now, and then we can just sew them all together. Stitch all 4 corner pieces. Switch to a smaller stitch length, that constructive stitch length there. Shift it over just a little bit. I'm going to trim my seam allowance after I finish all of them. I'm not going to be concerned with it right now. Make sure you do not sew your interior pocket. That lining pocket. Don't sew that down. Now, after this, I am going to switch out to my regular foot. This other one down. I have a feeling I'm probably going to be running out of bobbins soon. That's okay. I do have another one ready. At this point, before, you can wait, but I am going to make sure I unzip my exterior zipper. You always want to make sure you have your zippers open, because we will be bursting through this bag through the zipper pocket here. So now we're going to do the exterior and clip, and we're going to do the same exact thing that we did with the lining. All sides clipped together, and now we'll go ahead and sew these corner pieces down. Make sure to push your zipper panel, zipper pieces away so you don't catch that. And just remember to keep it at that smaller stitch length. It is your constructive stitch length. That's the one that's gonna keep your bag held together longer. Oh, and the zipper, I don't know if I mentioned, but I got my zipper from My Handmade Space off of Etsy. She does also have hardware. That's where some of my hardware comes from. That's where I got my rivets that I'm using. So she has some good stuff. I will link her below as well. Make sure everything's out of the way. Realize I did not switch to my regular foot, but I am going to do that now. I see the Teflon foot is not liking some of the things that I'm doing here. It really doesn't like layers. So just to avoid any issues, I will go to my regular foot here. And another reason why you want to push that zipper out of the way, panel out of the way, is it helps this part right here lay flat. So you're able to get the correct seam allowance that you need. All right, on to the bottom. These clips I am actually going to keep right here to the side. Okay, let's trim our seam allowance first before we do the bottoms. Trimming the seam allowance just keeps bulk from within the bag. If you were to keep all this attached, you would feel it within the bag. And when you do trim your seam allowance, you want to be about 1/4 of an inch away from your seams. Make sure you don't cut the stitches. Sometimes you can get overzealous. I've done it before and have cut stitches because I'm like, all right, we're almost done, almost done. And then I realize, oh gosh, your bag is not going to stay together with that hole right there. So sorry, I kind of break out in a song from time to time. Not a good singer. I just like to break out in song. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do the lining bottom first. Push that away. Of course, you want to find your centers. Always find your centers. With this canvas, you can easily just press and go, which is what I'm going to do right now. And I'm going to line my centers up. So I have my center marked on my side panels. And this bag is actually really good with this bottom fitting almost perfectly. So I always like to clip my centers first, all centers, and then clip as I clip around after. Because if there are some hiccups within where you were stitching, at least you have your centers and you can kind of maneuver to make sure things fit the rest of the way. But you don't want anything off center. Off center kind of sucks. And it looks weird. So, I guess that's my opinion. But I also like things very symmetrical when it comes to constructing something. When I craft, I like to be very symmetrical when I craft. Everything else can be chaotic, which it really is, but so you can clip, clip, clip. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay. It doesn't really matter where you start, but I personally just like to start in the center of the back. So that's just, I don't know, it's just me. And you'll stay at that smaller stitch length, back stitch, and go. I always take it slow around the curves, even if it does look pretty good. You just want to make sure you're catching everything. And then you turn your bag as you go. Turning the bag as you go helps you be able to keep your pieces flat in order to get the correct seam allowance. Now, you don't have to use as many clips as I do. I just like using clips. I like the security. Also move them out of the way before you start sewing them. Accidentally hit my automatic thread cutter, and it causes the machine to do that. Trim the seam allowance here and get our exterior bottom on. We are basically done. We get the exterior bottom on, birth the bag, attach our handles, do our crossbody strap, and then we're done. I don't think it was too bad. It didn't take too long, but always worth it when you get to birth the bag and see your finished work. Alright, so we have, and I am going to just do a little quick little snip here. Just make sure your snip just stays within your seam allowance. Right. So we have already had our centers marked on the main panel pieces. So I'm just following those centers with the center of my bottom. And then we have the center of our straps here, strap connectors. So we will follow suit. And then clip away. Now it is a curved, rounded bottom. Most times with a rounded bottom you want to staple so your curves don't slip. But this bag's bottom fits so perfectly, you don't really have to worry about that, which I know I seem so like, oh my gosh, but when you do some of the other bags, you'll see that it can be quite difficult to just have these curved bottoms sit correctly without there being too many wrinkles and crinkles. So I say thanks to Sincerely Jen for this bottom here. But I do still use a ton of clips. Ton of clips. Need to shift this over just a little bit. Alright. So close to being done. Sounds like the kids are getting in trouble. Like I said before, you don't have to use as many clips as I do, but I just like to make sure that it's held in place, nothing's going to slip or pull or anything like that. I will start from the back middle, and here basically just follow your stabilizer. We have that bottom stabilizer here. So we're just going to follow that. You're going to sew next to it, not into it. If you need to take your time over those straps, take your time. You don't have to rush. See, it slipped a little bit there, but like I can maneuver it some. But you could still use staples if you wanted to. I probably could have used a couple of staples, but it's okay. I'm gonna shift it and keep going. Slightly shifting this bag as I'm moving around. You know, people say they can hear their bobbins run out. I can't. I can't. So, there's that. Alright. Let's go ahead and clip this back. It's fine though. It's not a big deal. I'm going to clip it back. I mean, I was almost done. Bobbin. Bobbin was like, haha. Think you're done? What? Okay, so then where I ran out of bobbin, I'm just going to go a little bit behind that and do a little back stitch and go and finish up. Or a little bit before where, best description is a little bit before where I ran out of bobbin. I don't know if I don't hear it. It might be the fact that I'm just so into concentrating that I'm not paying attention. But it's all good in the hood. Alright. You just accept the mistake. Figure out solution and move on, right? Okay. Oh, let's trim our seam allowance. So where those crossbody strap holders are, I'm going to just skip over that. Only because there's only 2 straps holding whatever is going to be in this bag. The handles, there's 4, so there's more security. You could also backstitch on those areas to kind of give it extra security. I just leave it alone. Alright, time to birth the bag. I'm going to check the camera angle. Okay, so we're going to take our hand through the pocket. Best thing to do is start from the bottom. So we're going to start with the bottom and push the bottom through. Pull it. And at the same time you're pulling your bottom, you want to kind of pull this lining as well. Kind of roll it through. Now, because we used fleece as the lining, so it's a softer bag, it's a lot easier excuse me, to pull this through. When you're using Decoville Light or 809 and some foam, it get a little complicated. You gotta maneuver, push, play with it some. But you eventually get it through. Push out your corners here. And then we're going to push this in. Get our lining all the way in there. I feel it's like, I must have missed an interfacing when I did this. I don't know, because it feels squishier than the first one I tried. But here we have it. We have our bag. Oh, I think it looks super cute, guys. Roll those edges out a little bit. So next thing that we're going to do is close this pocket. And then we're going to add our handles on, and then we'll do our crossbody strap. So now to close the pocket, you're just going to pull that pocket out and pull it out here. And you're going to roll this within itself. You don't have to do it a lot, just a little bit. Enough for you to be able to sew close to the edge and be able to catch both sides. And I take a few clips just to clip it. You can go through and press it if you want, if it makes you feel a little bit better. I'm not about to do that. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna pretend like I do that. Okay. So now I just do it at that top stitch length, and I try to get as close to the edge as possible, just so there's as much pocket space for them to use, whoever is using the bag. You can use thread zap or just trim. I'm just going to trim it. And then you're going to push it back in. I feel like I could have used a little bit more interfacing in here, but I think it turned out nice still. It is a traveler bag, so you want it to be a little squishy. My preference is to have a little bit more structure to a bag. I probably could have put Deco Light and it still would have been okay.
Here's what I found on the web.
Whoa. That was not creepy at all. Right, so let's get our handles, and we're going to rivet our handles. Here I will use a clip just so it holds it well. Also, so I can double check to make sure that my handles are even. And if they're holding, I can do that. So all I'm doing is putting them through the rectangle rings. And clipping this. Making sure our handles are even. I will close it. It's best to close it and make sure. handles. So cute. I think it turned out really cute. Right? We'll rivet those on. I get my awl, and I need, give me 1 second, let me get a cloth. Okay, so I'm going to take, which I just had, there we go, my alcohol spray. As you can already see, there's stuff sticking to this. In here for me. Hopefully that doesn't make it too bright. And I'm going to wipe this off. And find a spot for my rivet. Try not to poke yourself. I've done that before. And that double-sided tape makes it a little difficult after a little while, but it's fine. It's okay. It's all good. Alright, let's do the other side, and then we'll set those, and then we'll get our crossbody strap done and be donezo. Folded this the wrong way. Let's make sure. Just double checking since I had it turned the wrong way. You use a lot of rivets in this bag, but it's worth it. I mean, as far as when you're using vinyl, if the original pattern does say webbing, but of course you can change it up however you need to or you want to. If you're making it more of a casual bag or more of a fancy business like bag, I guess. I feel like that's what this all vinyl does, is make it more like a more business type bag. Obviously it would be a geeky business person because it's Doctor Who fabric, but it's fine. It's okay. I think it's turned out pretty cute. In my opinion, I don't know. You could possibly have a different opinion on the matter. And so now I will set all these rivets. And then we'll need more rivets for the crossbody. Put the bag to the side, and crossbody strap. So we'll need an adjustable slider and our swivel hooks. What you're going to do is you're going to take one end, slide it through the other side. And what I like to do is clip things just to make sure I'm doing everything correctly before I actually rivet. I'm going to pull it through and you'll set your strap here. I'm going to clip real quick just to make sure. So we're going to put a swivel hook through here. Oh. Sorry, my end was not even. I don't think I trimmed those earlier, so we'll get this through. Swivel hook. And then we're going to take this end piece and slide it opposite way through. Oh, you might not want to hold it like that. And through. And you're going to pull it through. And take it through the other swivel, that last end, and you'll fold it over. Excuse me. And that's how you'll rivet this piece, and then you have your adjustable strap ready to go. So all I'm going to do is pull this back, and I will take 2 rivets here. And you can measure if you want. I'm just going to eyeball it. Once again, don't stab yourself. And I'm doing 2 rivets. You can do 1. I just feel like it looks really nice with 2. And then I'll do the same on this side. All the way through. Alright, so now we can go ahead and set all the rivets here. And then we clip it to our D-rings and we are done. How exciting. I'm excited. First of all, I'm excited for doing my first video, YouTube video, but I think it did okay. So think it turned out really nice. There we go. We have our Tribiani, the small one, traveler bag. So, all right. If I haven't said it before, go ahead and subscribe and drop any comments criticizing how the, oh my god, there's kids outside playing, how if I need to fix lighting or sound or camera view, or if you just don't like it, that's fine. I get it. All right, so there we have it. Thank you, and see you next time.